both those teams played scary games on Saturday, and both of them had situations where you're looking at it going, I don't think they're going to be full strength next week. So Blake Corum got hurt against Illinois. Michigan comes back, wins on a field goal, but Blake Corum, we don't know his situation for Ohio State.
Encouraging that he came back into the game after the injury for, I think it was a play.
Right. He had five rushing, one carry for 5 yards in the second half.
And then they pulled him again. So it doesn't seem like whatever the injury is a season-ending one.
Right.
Because there's no way somebody with a torn ACL is coming back into the game.
Right.
And I watched the replay, and I'm not a doctor, but it didn't look like there was any weird jerking motions there that would cause you to think that a ligament has been torn. But
on the other side of the equation, though, Trey Henderson did leave the Maryland game in a boot, and C.J. Stroud was limping pretty badly at the end of that game.
Yeah, that's football for you. I feel like when I think about this game, Andy, like I'm one of those cartoon characters that has the angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other. There's no implication about the angel or the devil, but I've got two different directions being tugged at it.
You have Jim Harbaugh on one shoulder and you have Ryan Day on another shoulder.
So it's like on one hand, I think that Michigan's offense stinks without Corum, and if they don't play, they're in trouble. J.J. McCarthy isn't that dude yet, and that if they play at Ohio State when there's no crazy wind or bad weather, that there's no possible way that Michigan will be able to score enough to keep it a close game and that Ohio State will win going away. And I also think, too, that there is a chance that we are putting too much stock into what happened last year and that Ohio State has spent the last year obsessed with this game like they do every year in order to stop Michigan from doing what it did last year, which is run the ball down their throat, and they're going to be a different, more improved defense that can just beat the crap out of them. Like that's on one side, that's how I feel. On the other side, I see Ohio State play grab ass every week, and I said this to you in a text message, but at a certain point, is it grab ass or is this just who they are? And somebody said, that's the saying, if somebody shows you who they are, believe them. It's like, at what point do we believe that Ohio State is just a team that is not playing its optimum football at the moment? And it's possible that they still are going to have issues with Michigan's toughness and have issues stopping the run. So, and if that's the case, and Michigan comes into Ohio Stadium and pushes Ohio State around, then you have a problem there. And I don't know which way I'm leaning because both scenarios seem very possible to me.
I would agree with you on both scenarios feeling possible, because I was thinking about, as Ohio State was struggling with Maryland, I was thinking back to 2018 when they played a very weird game against Maryland. They went to overtime, should have lost that game. And it was the one where you kind of knew something was up with Urban Meyer, that he's probably not, something's not right here. But then they destroyed Michigan the next week.
Yes, and it's like still a very talented team, and if they play their best football, I think they're going to have a really hard time being stopped. And I think that you come into this next game without grab ass, right? Like, it's a rivalry game. There's a lot on the line. Ryan Day's reputation's on the line. Jim Harbaugh's build is on the line. A playoff spot's on the line. A Heisman Trophy could be on the line. A Big Ten championship could be on the line. You would think that both of these teams would come out and play very, very crisp, motivated, hard-hitting football. And if that happens, and Ohio State's playing at the top of its game, and its $2 million defensive coordinator figures out how to stop the run and actually makes the other team's quarterback make a play, unlike last year, it seems to me that you could really convince yourself that Ohio State could win this game 42-21 or 42-17. On the other hand, Ohio State could just be what they were last year in disguise.
We talked about the scenario that ends with Ohio State winning by a lot, but the scenario where Michigan wins this game feels equally plausible.
Yeah.
Like, that Ohio State defense we saw against Maryland today, if Michigan is good up front and running the ball effectively, they're going to score on these guys, and they're probably going to hold Ohio State to fewer points than Maryland did. And obviously, I'm not counting the defensive touchdown there at the end. That was some ultimate grab ass that probably resulted in some people winning and losing quite a bit of money.
Yeah, well, especially if you live bet it in the middle of the game, because
that's what I mean.
That was a major. It went from 6 to 13, right? So a lot of key numbers were crossed at the end of that game. And, it's just be grab ass at the beginning, grab ass at the end, and grab ass all day.
So early weather forecast for Columbus next week. High 41, low 32 on Saturday. Morning rain and snow. Winds about 14 miles an hour.
That's not good for Ohio State.
Yeah. That feels like something that might make you hail to the victors valiant.
Yeah, and Ohio State's running game is just off right now. And it's not, and I don't even know, like Trey Henderson, it was really interesting to watch because he certainly was a 5-star prospect and one of their most encouraging young players a year ago. And, now he's hurt, but also he just doesn't seem to be hitting the holes when they're in front of him. It's like his vision's off. I don't know what it is. He's bouncing runs outside when there's a clear hole right in front of him, and it just doesn't seem to be working right now.
I think that has something to do with being not entirely physically well. Hayden did a great job. The freshman came in and
well, the second they put a running back in the game that would hit the hole, they started running the ball for 7 yards a carry.
Yeah, and he may have to be the guy. Mayan Williams. They said what he might be able to play, but we don't know. And then Trey Henderson again left the game in a boot.
Yep. And then Jackson Smith-Njigba doesn't seem to be playing either. So. I don't know what that injury actually is, but he's basically missed the entire year, which is kind of a rough look for Ohio State. Because
feels like a Nick Bosa situation.
It's just kind of like,
we'll see him at the draft.
Yeah, I mean, if he doesn't play, then you will see him at the draft because he's that good. But it would have been something to see Harrison and Jackson Smith-Njigba and all those guys on the same field at the same time. So like I'm just most importantly excited to watch the game.
Yes.
And like I think that a close game would be great, and I think that it's very much within the realm of possibility that both of these teams still make the playoff at the end of the year. If Michigan wins, I think Ohio State's in a better position to withstand that blow than they would be, just based on resume and kind of how they're made up.